What is one country that you will never visit again? Egypt. I visited Sharm el-Sheikh back in 2015. The hotel area was amazing. I vaguely remember it being called the Baron, and you felt like a king there. But that was it. As soon as you leave the hotel area, you feel like you're in a war zone. Trash everywhere, barely laid roads. Nothing to go look at, outside of the hotel, apart from stuff they sold to you as a day trip, snorkeling, camel riding, going out in the desert with a quad bike. It did not feel right to be there. Every time I went to buy water in a shop, the price would go up each day. They would tell you a price, many times 2 or 3 times the price you paid the day before, and you need to haggle them down. I ended up saying that I'd pay a certain amount and not more. When they said no, I'd leave the shop and they'd come chasing after me, saying okay, we can do £X20. It was stressful to be there. If I wanted to enjoy myself, I'd stick to my hotel room, the pool or the beach, and ignore the people trying to sell me stuff on the beach. I was the only one in the group of 5 people who didn't enjoy it. But I don't see the joy in having to haggle my way through the day and having seen everything after the second day. Our UK friends, 4 females, decided to visit Sharm el-Sheikh. So 3 of us, 1 female, 2 males, from the US decided to tag along in 2007. We were all in our mid-20s. This was when they were still rebuilding from the 2005 bombing, so things were new and clean. Anytime we left the resort, we had a bodyguard/photographer. We all had a point-and-shoot camera and didn't think to just use one camera. Poor bodyguard. I didn't realize how bad of an experience it could have been for us then. One day we did a camel ride and snorkeling. The hotel provided us with a lunch bag. When we arrived at the snorkeling place, I was the last to get out of the van and was swarmed with pushy kids trying to either sell things or beg for things. I gave them our lunch bags so that I could get away from them. It was such an awfully sad moment. Then looking back at pictures, during a day trip to Cairo, I was in a picture with a worker from one of the shops the tour guide took us to, and his hand is basically touching the side of my breast. Not to mention every one of us got food poisoning at different times. Looking back, I was so naive, unaware, and didn't ask questions. Just went with the flow with everything. I was only able to have a wonderful time with them friends because of our bodyguard. I am so grateful for him. I could only imagine what could have happened to us after reading this thread. I am so sorry for the horrendous things that has happened to so many women. Honestly, as someone from Egypt, I admit that this is true, and the government tries to hide the trash and poverty from tourists, but I've seen so many videos of tourists going to the shittiest neighborhoods in town and eating at the cheapest places ever. Stay in the civilized areas and you won't run into these things. Also avoid street food. Even the Egyptian middle class is absolutely grossed out by it, and it's very unsafe. I was in the Sharm el-Sheikh area in 2015, but not for tourism. I was a part of the US World Police Force making sure Egypt and Israel didn't violate their treaty. I'm from Heliopolis, Cairo, Egypt, and I tell you, don't worry, it's been 43 years later, and the peace treaty is still respected on both sides. R.I.P. Sadat. Late to the party, but yeah, it's appalling there. And I was there as a middle-aged male working for locals. The horror stories I hear from my women friends. Nope. I know a professional Egyptologist who won't go there anymore. I was there in 2003, I was maybe 24-ish on a tour with both of my parents. I have never in my life been groped, felt up and sexually assaulted as much as I have over there. In crowds, at museums, at the hotel. Random guys. Stray hand on my ass as they pass, or rub up against my breast. Even taking a camel ride, the older sleazy operator lifted me down without my consent and forced my body to do a slow slide against his groin. It was disgusting. Really sad to hear it has gotten far worse. Egypt, as many downthread said. Cairo looks like, is, a war zone. Turrets on street corners, tanks, soldiers with automatic weapons everywhere. We had an armed police officer on the tour bus, Rhodes Scholar, and nothing against them, they are a great company to travel with. A police escort everywhere, bomb dogs, and a guy with a mirror looking under the bus for bombs. Cairo is dirty, littered, and the poverty is staggering. The food was meh at best, as we could not travel outside the hotel or tour path to eat. It was blisteringly hot. The camel guys at the pyramids were mean to all of the women and the animals, with children working there as well. The Egyptian museum was a disgrace to the county. Poorly organized, bad labels, no security, priceless textiles, parchments, leather, etc. jumbled in cases exposed to the air, heat, hands. No AC. The only things well cared for and secured were Tutankhamun's artifacts. It's a spectacular resource and collection, and so badly cared for with no curation. The new one just opened, I sure hope it's better. Once you've seen one temple, one hieroglyphic, you've truly seen them all. It's all about tourist dollar, and the street vendors were relentless and scary. Even on a nice open boat ride down the Nile, kids paddled up to the boat on wooden doors, selling cheap crap or just begging. Never again. It's really depressing. Lots of graffiti around the pyramids and other tourist attractions. You can bribe guides to let you do anything, including do the graffiti. Everyone is trying to scam or con you if you're a tourist, and frankly it's also really filthy. And yeah, that's if you're a dude. If you're a woman, just don't. Happened to me in Indonesia when I was 12, a man offered my dad a watch for me. My dad jokingly was like, 2 watches, before realizing the guy was serious and ushering me into a shop away from the man. He kept a pretty firm eye on me and my 14-year-old sister after that. Egyptian guy here, I travel internally a lot and I often feel unsafe. I can't even imagine what it's like for women, local and foreign. It's fucked up that we need foreigners to raise awareness about how awful the treatment of women here is, but as you said, this might be the best chance we have at it. I hope stories like these filter to people in charge, so maybe we can have some systemic changes in this regard. Change on the individual level is not likely to happen because as much as we pride ourselves by being a conservative country, men here act in a super despicable manner day in and day out. I'm sorry for all you and every woman in Egypt go through. I had a girlfriend who went to Jamaica with her family, and while she was sleeping in her hotel room, a local climbed the balcony and snuck into her room. Unlucky for him, her dad is ex-Georgian Special Forces or something and ended up throwing him from the 3rd-story balcony. They went down to look for him, but by the time they got down he was gone. I don't think people realize how impoverished a lot of Jamaica is. I'll never go back there either. I had a driver try to extort money from me on my honeymoon. The lady that set up the transportation at our resort was in on it. The driver accosted my wife demanding money for a previous ride he had given us but abandoned us, so we had to find our own way back to the resort. I told my wife to go into the airport and he and I exchanged words. He wanted the money for the return trip plus extra because he drove to pick us up for no reason. Mind you, we waited over an hour for him. Once he realized I wasn't going to back down and I wasn't afraid of him calling the cops, he backed down and left. The Gambia in West Africa. I've traveled to over 40 countries in my life, including Egypt, Morocco, India and Cameroon, and the Gambia is by far the worst of the bunch. Went there in 2009 with my girlfriend. We were 20 at the time. It is by far the most corrupt country in the world. Let me start by saying it's a beautiful country and the people there are the friendliest people you could wish to meet, but the way they are treated by the government is disgusting. We met a local guy there called Jimmy Brave who lived in a hut on the beach with his young family. Amazing guy, cooked us dinner every night and never wanted anything but friendship in return. We have him a fair bit of money on our last day, more than we usually would because he genuinely didn't want it. Anyway, one night we decided we wanted to check out the nightlife in the tourist area where it was safe, so my friend Jimmy agreed to meet us by the hotel entrance at 7 p.m, then we would take him for dinner and hit a few bars. We got to the front of the hotel just before 7 p.m. and Jimmy wasn't there. We waited around an hour, still no Jimmy. At this point we assumed he had forgot, so we went back out of the rear exit onto the beach and to his hut. His wife said he had gone to meet us over an hour ago. We searched for about 4 hours and still couldn't find him, so his wife suggested we call the local tourist police. We called and they confirmed he had been arrested for loitering in front of the hotel. We agreed to meet the head of police and arrived at the police station. This is where it got shady. We went in and sat at a desk in an empty dark room. A bug African guy in army clothing came in and sat in front of us. The guy had 2 cigs in his mouth, smoking both at the same time. He slammed his fist on the table and started shouting at us, demanding £500, probably a year's wages over there, to release Jimmy. Obviously we refused. After about an hour of arguing and various threats against us, we were a young white couple at the time and they assumed we were wealthy. We managed to agree on £70 and a 200 pack of cigs. We paid and were told to wait outside. We were out there for over 2 hours and they brought the wrong guy out. We only knew our friend as Jimmy Brave, not his real name, so this proved challenging. Anyway, I was invited in to show the police who Jimmy was and had to pick him out of a huge cell filled with at least 300 people, some who were very close to death. Anyway, Jimmy spotted me straight away and we had him released. When we got far enough away from the police station, Jimmy broke down in tears. I've never seen a grown man cry like this in my life. He lifted up his top and he had several large open wounds where they had been whipping him in the cell and the police truck. We immediately took him to hospital where he remained for 2 days at a cost of £240-ish. The hospital doctors were great. So bear in mind he was beaten/whipped around 50 times, hard, just for waiting outside our hotel to take us for drinks. And he was only released because we paid. If we had never turned up, he said he would have died in there. They don't release the criminals until somebody pays the corrupt police chief. There was people literally dying in front of my eyes in the cell. I've always swore if I become rich I will be going back there just to release as many of these people as I possibly can, except any dangerous people who actually deserve to be there obviously. This wasn't the only corruption from the police we seen while there, it's just the main point. We seen police walking down the street slapping women and kids for absolutely no reason. One cop told me he would murder anyone I point out right now for £50. He had an AK-47. I saw people dragged in the back of trucks never to be seen again just for asking people for a bottle of water. I feel really sorry for the majority of the population in Gambia, as they are amazing happy people who have to live in constant fear of the police/government. Edit, I forgot to mention that Jimmy managed to move to the UK in 2016 with the help of me and another British family he met in the Gambia. He now lives in Stoke-on-Trent, which is a few hours from where I live, but we talk on Facebook regularly and meet up once or twice a year. Was there only for a short period of time back in 2016. It was nice that they had the whole town decorated for Christmas. One of the coolest thing is they put the moving icicle lights upside down, which made it look like lights were shooting up into the tree. Yeah, fuck BH. Way worse than ISIS, but because they only really attack the locals, they don't make the news that often. At least not here in the US.